Welcome to Championship Predictions. It's Matchday 14 from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage. With me, as always, is Daniel Cody and Charlie Betts. Let's go to Matchday 13, where it was a lot better than Matchday 12. We all got perfect scores in certain areas. Daniel Cody got 2 perfect scores on Luton versus Birmingham and Coventry versus Cardiff. Charlie also got 2 perfect scores with Millwall versus Reading and Swansea versus Sheffield Wednesday. And I got 1 perfect score of Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest. So the totals overall, Charlie and Cody both got 9 points to my 8. What does that mean for the table? The table looks like this. The gap is closed again. This is not good. I'm on 87 points with 14 perfect scores. Daniel Cody's on 85 with 10 perfect scores. And Charlie Betts is on 77 with 11 perfect scores. Charlie and Cody finally in double figures on the perfect scores.
Just shows how many outcomes we get right, doesn't it, Craig?
That is true. Before we go on to Matchday 14, the breaking news as it is fans will return to Championship grounds. Not all of them, though, Daniel Cody.
Yeah, I think the problem is that they're returning, by the looks of the way the tier system's set out, to most southern grounds, and there's a lot of northern teams in the Championship, so it doesn't bode quite so well just yet. For me at Luton, I'm hoping that we'll get one before the new year, but it's a good sign and it's progress nonetheless, so hopefully it'll be the whole country before long.
So, Charlie, Brentford, Bournemouth, Luton, Millwall, Norwich, QPR, Watford and Wycombe. We don't know about the 2 Welsh sides. They will have a meeting next week, I think. How vital is having fans back into grounds?
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid the teams like Luton in this situation, but I mean it in the polite way, like teams such as Wycombe, where, have probably relied more on gate receipts because they don't feature on TV as much as some of the other teams in the league, and you can, dress it up any way you want, but it's a fact. The gate receipts are a huge income for those kind of teams. And although it's only 2,000, it's 2,000 more than what they've been getting for the last, 6 to 8 weeks, whatever it is. So I think it's such a massive lifeline for these clubs, whether it be in the Championship all the way down to League Two and all of that. I know we're talking about the Championship today, but yeah, I can't see any harm coming of it from a club's financial perspective, obviously, and some other stuff. So yeah, for me, it's a massive progress.
The restrictions will start next Wednesday. So obviously, you've got the Tuesday night fixtures. Unfortunately, it's not ready for them. So Wednesday onwards, hopefully we'll see some fans back in. And we look forward to it while we watch games midweek and for the rest of the season. So let's get on to this weekend. We'll start off with Friday night football. It's a West London derby. It's Brentford versus Queen's Park Rangers. Brentford, they're unbeaten in 5, to be fair. QPR, a good win against Rotherham, should I say. Charlie, we talk about inconsistency, QPR. I don't really want to say it's inconsistent, QPR, but are they starting to turn to start get on the run of wins?
I think maybe I've been guilty of using the wrong word of inconsistent. They're just very difficult to predict because although if you look at the form tables and stuff, they've generally followed yes and no. It's the scores they come out with. It's impossible to get a correct score with QPR. However, this is a tough one, and the reason I say that is talking about 2 teams that are doing one good at home, one away from home. So. I don't know. I mean, my logic, I looked at the fixtures. I'll be brutally honest. I was so close to securing every game 1-1, and eventually a couple of them have got stick, and you get some points off of that. But, obviously that wouldn't be in the spirit of the game. But Brentford, if you give them a bit of space, and I particularly like to Ivan Toney, he does score for fun. So I'm going to go for a Brentford win. This might blow up in my face. Not a massive one. I can just see lots of goals in this again. I might regret this, but I think I'm going to go. I think QPR might open up a bit now. 3-1 Brentford.
Code, West London derby with no fans. Would there be a difference if the fans were there?
No, it's quite hard to tell with Brentford because they've basically drawn every home game for the last month. So there is a lot to be said there. I don't think in these sorts of games this weekend the fans will be the difference because obviously it's across the board. I mean, what we're going to do when we start predicting next midweek where we've got to work out if there's fans in the stadium, whether that will give home advantage. I don't even want to get to that point yet. But for this game, I don't think it's going to affect the outcome. I know Brentford have drawn 3 home games in a row. QPR in good form. I was tempted to go for them for the win. But as it is, I'm going to stick to the draw and I'm starting with 1-1 just to annoy everyone.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was actually going to go with Charlie Betts' strategy of go for every game as 1-1. But I'm not sure what to expect from this game. I think it's going to be one of those unpredictable games. I can easily see it going either way. I don't think it'll be a draw. I think one of the 2 teams is going to win. I'm going to go for Brentford. I think Brentford are going to sneak this one 2-1. As we move on to Saturday, and the early kickoff is Reading versus Bristol City. Reading stopped the rot at Millwall. Obviously, they drew 1-1. Bristol City, on the other hand, they were unlucky, I'll say, against Watford. They had some really good chances. Just the final product wasn't there for them. Coach, do you think Reading will finally win a game?
No, in short answer. It's not because of Reading, to be fair. They were much improved against Millwall, but Bristol City have been in very good form. We talked about their big patch of defeats beforehand, and now they're in a big patch of unbeaten form. 3 wins in a row, a good point against Watford, as you mentioned, where they were arguably the better side. And I fancy Bristol City to do well for a little spell now. So for me, it all points towards Bristol City. I don't think the rot's quite stopped for Reading. It's progress, and I don't think they'll lose as heavily. But I'm going to go for Bristol City to nick this one by 2-1.
Once again, another game that can literally go either way. I'm not sure. Bristol City, very good form. Red, on the other hand, defensively, they're getting a bit better. Well, if most of their players are back now from injury. I can only think it'll be another point in this one. I think this will be a good game, but I'm going to go for 1-1. Charlie?
I fancy a Bristol City win, but they don't keep many clean sheets away from home. So Reading looked a little bit more solid, but I still think there's still a defensive issue there. Bristol City to win. Oh, do I go big? No. 2-0 Bristol City.
Up next at St Andrews, it's Birmingham City versus Millwall. It's the police's best day ever because there's no crowd and it won't kick off between these two sides. Birmingham weren't great, but they got the job done and gaining a point. I wasn't particularly impressed with them.
No, they were poor against Luton. Luton should have won the game. They weren't clinical. But Birmingham were resolute defensively. And for as poor as the game was the Friday before that you watched at Coventry, the same applied. They were solid defensively. And they've got that resilience that Aitor Karankor's specialist back. And I feel like it's going to get them a point again. Millwall have drawn their last 4 league games now. 1-1 or 0-0. Birmingham have drawn their last 2, 1-1 or 0-0. So which draw am I going for is the big question. 1-1 is the Championship's favourite scoreline, but this game is going to be 0-0, Craig.
Charlie?
I'm inclined to agree with Dan, but I just think Birmingham do leak more goals at home. Millwall are better away from home. I don't think Birmingham might have even kept a clean sheet. It might have had 1 out of the last 6 or 7 at home. I just think Millwall are slightly better away from home. I don't know, maybe it's the sort of pressure of being away from home. There's a bit less for them. I think they'll sneak a win. It's not going to be a lot, but Millwall don't score a lot of goals. But Birmingham, just when they start to always look like they're about to come good, they seem to shoot themselves in the foot. And I can just see that happening again. So I'm going to have to go for a boring 1-0 win for Millwall, if I'm honest.
We don't expect a lot of goals in this game. I'm also going to go for a draw. Birmingham, I just did not like the way they played. They looked like they wanted to park their bus within the first 10 minutes. It was a penalty, not going to lie. But after that, they didn't really look like doing anything until the last kick of the game and suddenly got to make a save. Neil Everidge obviously saved them quite a lot. Fair play to him. He played very well, not going to lie. But I could see them being draw specialists again against a team that's also drawing for fun. I'm going to go for 1-1. Up next at Ewood Park, it is Blackburn Rovers versus Barnsley. Oh, this is another hard game to predict, Charlie.
Yeah, because to be honest, Barnsley are on a close 1-0 loss to Brentford. How much do you read into Blackburn's 3-0 win? I don't know. Preston, we spoke about the home form. We'll talk about them later. I cannot for the life of me work out what's happening there. But more or less everyone's beaten Preston at home. So how much do you read into that? But they did score. They can score goals. That's the problem with Blackburn. But so can Barnsley. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a big thriller. So I'm going to go for 3-3 or 2-2. I can't split them, so I'm going to have to go for a draw. 2-2. I'm going to have to go for 2-2.
I think it was like a training game for Blackburn on Tuesday against Preston. It was just gifted to them. Barnsley, yeah, they'll be unlucky, Barnsley. They had the odd chance. Could have had a penalty, debatable one, to be honest. I'm not too sure. I've seen them given. Blackburn, obviously, yeah, weren't particularly great against Luton, but got the point. They obviously turned on the style on Tuesday. No, Barnsley, I'm going to win this one, 2-1. I've got a good feeling about Barnsley in this game. Cody?
Well, one of us is getting a point for the first time this weekend because I can't see anything other than a pretty convincing Blackburn win. They're back in form. They're no longer inconsistent. They're 4 games unbeaten. The point makes Luton's point look on Saturday a lot better, but they were convincing at home to QPR. They were very good away at Preston for as poor as Preston were. And the only team that held them up was Middlesbrough, and they were solid at the back in that one. The goals have stopped going in at the other end, which is crucial. And Barnsley, they won away at Derby, but they got battered at Cardiff. And that's the game I've watched, so it's given me a sort of impression of them. After that last defeat, it's only Blackburn for me. I think they'll let him 1, but they're going to score 3. 3-1 to Blackburn.
Up next to the Cardiff City Stadium, it's Cardiff versus Luton Town. Cardiff lost to Coventry. What is going on with Cardiff, Codes?
I don't know. I mean, all of the interviews I've seen with Neil Harris are, we concede some of the worst goals I've ever seen. We concede terrible goals. The problem, I would say, is that they're not going in at the other end either. They had that one day against Barnsley that I saw, and it all looked like it was coming back together. But there's some strange results in there. And it's got to the stage where against Coventry in midweek, I was predicting them to lose because they were that poor. it didn't inspire me at all. Luton have become draw specialists. And, they have drawn 3 games in a row, 1-1. So we all know what score I'm going for, don't we? Do I even need to say it?
Yes, please.
1-1.
Luton are very good away from home. Let's be brutally honest. Luton are very good at home. Just looking at Cardiff stats, scored 13, conceded 13. So obviously when you're down there, 18th in the table of a 0 goal difference, you probably have some questions, what the hell's going on? But last 5 games, lost, win, lost, drawn, loss. But I think Luton will go back into winning ways. I think Luton will win 2-1. Charlie?
I'm going to jinx it and say this
Don't say Luton win, please.
No, this is a bank. Well, Cardiff are woeful at home. I think they haven't kept the clean sheet. They've won 1 game at home all season. I'm not going to go. But Luton, I did say, and I'll stick by it earlier on in the season, I would back Luton away from home against most teams. At home, completely different story, and I'll get my soapbox out for that when that happens because they're really starting to annoy me at home. But we're not talking about them at home. We're talking about Luton Town away. So it has to be a Luton win. They're so much better away from home. Cardiff are awful at home. It all points to, which is why I know for a fact they're probably not going to win now after me saying that. But for me, the biggest quandary was not who was going to win this game. The biggest quandary was how many goals Luton were going to win the game by. 2-0 Luton Town.
Next up at Pride Park, it is Derby County versus Wycombe Wanderers. A big game down at the bottom of the table, Coast.
Yeah, and can we just reflect, just to back up Charlie here about his comments in the Derby episode, that Steve McLaren's back for a 3rd stint at the club in a various capacity. Who would have people back, eh? But genuinely,
that's 2 things now. Sorry. That's 2 things now. Charlie got right. He said Premier League goals and Steve McLaren will be back at Derby.
Outside of results, Charlie's predictions are absolutely outstanding.
Unbelievable.
To get you points, that's the problem. But anyway, go on.
But moving back to Derby, look, I do wish their fans the best because a lot of them are very good. The atmosphere is always good at Pride Park, but what happened against Middlesbrough was essentially what we all predicted against Bristol City at the weekend before it. And as much as Middlesbrough are brilliant at the back, you shouldn't really be conceding 3 goals to them. It's not something that's been happening regularly. Again, Derby had possession. They kept it safe. They kept it well. Middlesbrough clinical on the counter-attack. There's so much to be concerned about there. And a lot of people in the media are now starting to talk about the player-manager role, as Charlie again alluded to beforehand. So I can't see Derby getting a point. They've lost 4 in a row. They've not scored a goal. Wycombe have kept 2 clean sheets in their last 2 games, and they're up against a poorer defence. So for me, on the road, Wycombe are going to nick a 1-0 win, and it's going to be, I would argue, quite comfortable.
I'm going to agree with you, to be honest, with a 1-0 win for Wycombe. Yeah, I think it's for Derby. I think it's a confidence thing. I really do. They had a good chance against Middlesbrough, and then they didn't take it, and then they conceded that 2nd goal at the wrong time, and then heads dropped, and then they conceded the 3rd. So yeah, I think a confidence thing. I said we say about the quality, they haven't got the quality going forward, but it's just I think it's confidence as well. I can't see where they're going to get another victory. I don't think it'll be this one either. I think Wycombe obviously 2 clean sheets now, obviously 2 draws. I don't think Derby are strong at set pieces. So if Joe Jacobs sweetens them in, obviously take advantage of it. Why not? So I think Wycombe will win this one 1-0. Charlie.
I'll tell you where I am. I agree with you, Wycombe win. I don't know. It's basically whether Derby are going to get something like a set piece, such as a free kick, something like that, later on in the game and get a goal. Because that's probably the only place they're going to score from. And I mean that in the politest way possible. I think Wycombe will get 2. I'm floating between 2-0 and 2-1 is basically where I am. I just wanted to say that I wanted to sort of highlight welcome to management Wayne Rooney in the sense of they lost against Middlesbrough and suddenly John Terry's coming at short odds to be the next manager. So the point I'm making is that it moves so quickly. He was a bit of a homecoming a minute ago, and the next minute he's on favourite to be out. So I don't think it was going to work. It never was going to work, and we've sort of discussed that at length. But what worries me is, like you say, to let him 3 goals at Middlesbrough, who were notorious 1-0 winners, it is concerning. So I think Wycombe will get 2 because I think they have got a bit of an edge up front. I'm going to go for 2-1 Wycombe.
Up next at the John Smith is Huddersfield Town versus Middlesbrough. Huddersfield, they obviously drew 0-0 with Wycombe, so positive they kept a clean sheet, so it's good for them. Middlesbrough are convincing 3-0 win against Derby, we just spoke about. If this score's not 1-1, what do you think it will be?
Well, I agree with you. If this was the other way around, I'd back Middlesbrough at home all day. Neil Warnock and Middlesbrough at home has been brilliant. Neil Warnock and Middlesbrough away have not been as consistent, and certainly not won as many games as what you'd hope they would have liked to. Huddersfield do come out and play a bit, as you lads have seen. So I think a bit of confidence. 3-0 against Derby. I know it's a poor Derby side, but putting in 3 must do something. It can't do any harm for you. So I'm going on a completely non-football reason. Everything I've done so far has been on numbers and it hasn't worked. So let's go with a heart result on this. And I think Borough will get a win. I mentioned it earlier. 1-0 Middlesbrough is my favourite scoreline for Middlesbrough. 1-0 Middlesbrough in this one as well. No logic whatsoever. They're just a bit of a heart thing.
Coates?
Well, Middlesbrough just don't concede goals. For whatever you want to call them going forward and the sort of mixed match that's come with that, they haven't conceded since the 24th of October against Cardiff. Since then, 6 games without conceding a goal. They looked good going forward against Derby, but, and I hate to say it for Derby fans, we have to say it was against a team like Derby, which who thought we'd be saying that at this stage of the season, to be honest. I do worry for them. Huddersfield, they haven't won in 4. Everything points to a Middlesbrough win. So as much as Middlesbrough are 0-0 draw specialists on the road, I think they'll nick 1. And the same as the last game, 1-0 to the away side, Middlesbrough win.
I think that for the first time ever, we've all gone for the same scoreline. Middlesbrough have only conceded 6 all season, which is quite remarkable after 13 games. But they only scored 12, which is very low. I think it'll be another set piece. A Sombalonga tapping from a yard. Sharp shot for the rest of the game. Bish bash bosh, 1-0. Borough. Up next, it is Norwich City, top of the table. Norwich City, 3 wins in a row. Norwich City, they're up against Coventry at Carrow Road. Coventry picked up that 1-0 win. Codes, Coventry. How much of a confidence boost for them is to get that win?
Coventry, I said this fairly before the Tuesday night games, is I don't think they're going to have many great nights this season. But at home, under the lights, a bit like, as we've talked about with Luton before, Coventry have got that feeling. The Friday night games, they've been in some thrillers. Again, at home to Cardiff, under the lights, they did the job. At home, behind closed doors, they've been one of the more solid sides in the Championship. Nearly all of their points have come at home. Norwich look fantastic. They aren't losing games. I don't know how this is going to go. I think Norwich will be back to a clean sheet. I'm going to bank on that. But how many do they get? Unfortunately, I can't see back-to-back wins for Coventry, so I'm going to go for 2-0 to Norwich. Play safe.
I agree, to be honest, over 2-0. It's one of those where, no, look, Norwich were very comfortable before the red card. Norwich were very comfortable. Mendia got sent off. To do that to Stoke at home, at Stoke, shall I say, that opened my eyes a little bit. And I thought, oh, wow, that's promotion form, that is. Norwich haven't been great at home, to be honest. They're not scoring many at home, not like the 4s and 5s they were in previous seasons, shall I say. But I think a solid 2-0 win will be just right for them. Charlie?
Yeah, I think we obviously have agreed on a Norwich win. Coventry are going to get 1. I've generally flirting between 3 and 4-1 Norwich. I'll probably regret it because it'll annoy me if it only gets to 3, but I think the floodgates might open. 4-1 Norwich City.
Up next at New York Stadium, it's Rotherham United versus Bournemouth. Codes, a good 2-0 win that someone predicted right.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, what I've got to be careful of here is how wild a scoreline I go for, that you won't copy it to keep us 2 points clear behind at the top of the table. Look, both sides have been involved in some pretty good games recently. Bournemouth are winning 3 in a row, and it's sort of old school Bournemouth now. After all those 1-0s and 0-0s and 1-0s at the start of the season, the goals are going in thick and fast. Rotherham were involved in a 3-2 thriller at Queen's Park Rangers. So I'm banking on goals, which probably means it's going to be 1-0, doesn't it? I don't know. Bournemouth, for me, are the side who are going to win this. I know Rotherham are better at home, but I can't see past Bournemouth. It's going to be a Bournemouth win. 3-1.
I have to agree with you, to be honest, Codes, but not on the scoreline.
Better not.
No, I'm going to be honest. Obviously, Rotherham will be very disappointed to not gain any points. Bournemouth, on the other hand, they've clicked. They've finally clicked. They get the goal, and then I tell you what, they shut up, and they defensively they look solid. I mean, honestly, Forest had some really good chances as well, but defensively they look really good. I was really impressed with them in the last half an hour I saw from that game against Forest on Tuesday night. I was really impressed with them. I think they're going to do the same, to be honest. If they get the 2 quick goals, I think they're just going to sharp, absolutely fine. Bish bash bosh. 2-0 Bournemouth. Charlie?
I'm going with the money ball. Bournemouth haven't kept the clean sheet away from home. Rotherham have only kept 1 clean sheet at home, which should suggest at least a goal for each side. But I think there's going to be more than that. I'm going to go for 2-1 Bournemouth. I'm not reading too much into the Forest game. And the reason I say that is I've been a massive advocate of how good they are going forward. But they are possibly one of the most toothless teams in the Championship at the minute, in terms of having all of that ability, but just not delivering on that front. So how much do you read into a clean sheet against Nottingham Forest? I don't know. So I think they'll let 1 in, but I think they'll get 2 at the other end. Like you say, though, Bournemouth have clicked. But I still don't see the free-flowing Bournemouth, apart from that one game where they made me look stupid a few weeks ago. But yes, 2-1 Bournemouth.
Up next at Hillsborough, it's Sheffield Wednesday versus Stoke. So Tony Pulis' old side. He gets to face them. Incredible scenes. But will it be incredible scenes on the pitch? Absolutely not. I think it'll be a terrible game of football. Wednesday, obviously, got the point. They couldn't hang on against Swansea. Stoke, obviously, were getting battered 3-0 to Norwich. And then, obviously, the red card changed the game. And they got 2 quick goals. This got a classic Championship favourite scoreline of 1-1. Charlie?
I don't know. I found this a genuine difficult one to predict because we've seen Tony Pulis, but he's had, obviously, a fella sent off in his first game. He had a major injury early on in the second game. I mean, I don't feel for Tony Pulis. What I'm saying is have we seen the full Tony Pulis sort of Sheffield Wednesday yet? And I don't think we have. Stoke are not great away from home. I'm not going for a 1-1, but I don't know. I'm flirting with a sneak 2-1 win here for Sheffield Wednesday. And do I go for it? I've got to be brave and claw back some points. I genuinely think this is the game that turns to Tony Pulis, providing he doesn't get any more bad luck of which he's had so far of an injury or sending off. But Stoke do have a cutting edge going forward, so I think they'll get one. But I think this might be the turning point for Tony Pulis.
Coates.
I don't know about this. Obviously, as we're recording this, I watched the Sheffield Wednesday game last night, and it was a really strange game. They started really well, despite the injury to the goalkeeper early on, which is never good for a side, but they looked good. The second half, Swansea battered them, and let's be fair, how Swansea had a goal disallowed in the last minute, I will never, ever be able to tell you.
I don't know what it's for. I can't work it out.
It's a goal or a penalty. But based on that, I mean, Sheffield Wednesday were decent. Stoke have been suddenly involved in 4 thrillers in a row, and I don't really quite understand how. So I have to predict there to be goals. I think this is going to be a great game. Yes, there'll be a lot of goals, but there'll be territory, there'll be set pieces. And it's whether I go for 2-2 or 3-2. I'm going to play it safe and stick with 2-2, despite the fact Stoke haven't won for ages. And I know I'm going to regret that already, but 2-2.
Up next at Vicarage Road, it's Watford versus Preston North End. Do you feel, Coase, that Alex Neil is under pressure?
I don't really know. I mean, probably not after this weekend, because they're away from home. They'll probably blitz the opposition, and it'll be fine again till Tuesday. It's one of the weirdest things in football. I told you about that. And to be fair, most of us said it, didn't we, about that Sheffield Wednesday game. Don't read too much into it. It was one shot on target against the team with 10 men for 80 minutes. They bounced back with aplomb with a cracking 3-0 home defeat against Blackburn. It was bizarre. They might be a team that could have benefited from having home fans. But again, north of the country, not many people are going to see it. So away to Watford, they could win 4-0. They could draw 1-1. But I'm going to go for them to win because they're away from home. They've only lost the one away game and they've been brilliant aside from that. And Watford have been unconvincing for a couple of games. So I'm going to go for Preston to nick it by 2-1. And I probably will regret that. And if he loses, he'll get sacked.
You heard it here first on this Football Podcast News. That Cody predicts Alex Neil's going to get sacked if he loses. Charlie.
You'll notice that so far in this episode, despite it being my highest points total, that I haven't gone for a 1-1, the champion's favourite scoreline, until now, because I'm talking about, genuinely, I mean, Preston away from home are scintillating, but Watford have been strong at home, and I know they have looked a bit inconsistent, but I think a draw at home against the Preston away is not the worst result, actually. I think you would happily take a draw, given the context. I would pay a large sum of money to be a fly on the wall in the Preston team preparation to compare a home game to an away game. I cannot for the life of me understand how a team can be so good away from home and yet so woeful at home. We'll never know, but it'd be an incredible documentary, I think, if you made one. But yeah, anyway. So based on that, I think Preston, they will rock their confidence. I still think they're good away from home, but I think getting thumped 3-0 at Blackburn. And Watford haven't been the best, most free-flowing Watford we've seen for a while either. So I'm going to play it safe. I think one of the best away teams against one of the best home teams. I have to go down the middle and Championship's favourite scoreline 1-1.
Well, one of us has guaranteed a point. We said about Preston doing well away from home, but Watford at home are actually doing all right, to be fair. Obviously, I think it's only been one game that's been the odd thriller, but the rest have been like 1-0s and 1-1s. I think Watford need to go back to that way because they actually started well by winning the game 1-0. And I think they're going to do that. I think it's going to be a 1-0 win for Watford. And the final game on Sunday, it's Nottingham Forest versus Swansea at the City Ground. Forest on a bad run of form, Codes.
Well, they are, but only away from home. They've lost the 2 away games 2-0. They lost the Middlesbrough game 1-0 away from home. But in between that, they nicked 2 home wins. And that is probably making this the hardest game of the weekend to predict for me. Swansea were unconvincing for the first half against Sheffield Wednesday, as I mentioned, but were then very unfortunate not to win it due to a dodgy decision. But do you know what? I'm in 2 schools of thoughts here. Everything is telling me to go for 1-0. It's the Championship's favourite scoreline, and they could cancel each other out. But we've mentioned Nottingham Forest, clear-cut chances-wise. They're creating so much, and it's just almost every striker in that club is out of form at the same time. It's such a weird thing to see again. But this is the day it's going to click, and it's going to make me look ridiculous if it doesn't happen. Nottingham Forest are going to win this one, and it's going to be comfortable. It's going to be 3-1, and it will be 3-0 followed by a consolation. You've heard it here first. That's 2 in a row I've gone bold.
Oh.
Charlie?
I mean, Swansea do draw a lot away from home, but Forest, like you said, have sneaked a couple of wins. I don't know. I'm not as confident, and I'll probably regret. Obviously, given what Nancy said, I'll probably regret this. I don't know. I'm edging towards a draw, possibly Swansea away win. I'm going to go down safe down the middle. I'm not going to go for the Championship's favourite scoreline because I think that'd be a bit of a cop out to the last two results. I can't see Swansea getting 2 goals either. Do you know what?
Do it.
No, Forest have got a woeful attacking line at the minute. Swansea draw away from home. I'm going to go, unfortunately, to finish today's episode on a drab 0-0.
One of us has guaranteed a point again. I totally disagree on a 3-1 win for Forest. I can't remember last time they scored an open play. I mean, can't remember.
They've had the chances, though.
Yeah, but so in Luton, and they're not taking their chances either. Yeah, I think if Swansea can click, they can actually be a really good side. Obviously, at home, they are very good. Away, I think that's going to change. I think Swansea are going to win this one 2-1. So those are our predictions. Let's have a quick recap of what they are. For the first time, we've all agreed on the same scoreline on Huddersfield 0, Middlesbrough 1. But that's blatantly going to be a 1-0 win for Huddersfield. A few Championship favourite scorelines that we've all predicted of 1-1s. A bold claim at the end from Cody, a 3-1 win for Forest. And Charlie's going for it for Norwich for 4-1 wins, should I say, against Coventry. And those are predictions for Matchday 14. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comments section down below. Give this video a like, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at Honest Football Free. And we'll see you next time.